Hi, I'm Marta Waller, and I'm here with Dr. Joe Haraszti, world-renowned psychiatrist and addictionologist. Joe, we've watched the Chilean miners first be trapped in this mine for 69 days and then be rescued. The world was absolutely focused on the rescue. First, it was an engineering marvel, but what is the mentality that goes into this sort of giant world kind of holding hands and holding their breath collectively?
Well, I think that there's a myriad reasons. There's many reasons as people watching, but I think in some ways it's not unlike people who slow down on the freeway looking at accidents. Whenever there's an accident occurring on one side, there's always a looky-loo slowdown on the other side. People, for whatever reason, are drawn to watch train wrecks, car wrecks, any type of accidents, tragedies, and so on. In some ways, I think it's a morality play, and it's almost sort of like sitting in a movie theater when you're watching a horror movie or whatever, where you're frightened. It's kind of an optimal level of fright, but you yourself, you're going to be safe. You're not going to be involved in it. And then also there's a possibility that it's going to be a successful rescue, in which case it turns out to be a really heartwarming story. And I think it made everyone feel better when they saw these miners emerge relatively unscathed and relatively healthy.
And it was probably truly amazing to have that many people come up, to have that many be brought up alive.
Yes.
Because that was a long trip in that little tiny basket.
Right.
But to have them all come up alive, they were all coherent, they were all walking.
Yes. And
to have survived relatively intact, both physically and emotionally, that long. And, all different countries watched. But first they watched with some degree of, we hear about mine disasters fairly regularly.
Yes.
And they usually have a very bad outcome in a very short amount of time.
Right.
But this went on first for a day, and then for another day, and another day. And then it sort of, even though we kept hearing about it, it was not on the front burner, so to speak.
Right.
And it sort of slipped to the back for really a couple of months.
Yes. No, I mean, this mine rescue set a new world record for the longest time that miners had been underground and submerged and unable to come out. 69 days is by far the longest period of time. So it's tremendous. I mean, it's an engineering marvel, and it's also a tribute to the president of Chile, President Pinero, who really took it on as a personal mission. And he was there with the president of Bolivia, and they personally greeted the miners. There was one Bolivian miner who was involved. It was really, really wonderful to watch.
Do you think people, in addition to that, there but for the grace of God, go I, that they feel some sort of personal connection to, just it gives them that sort of oneness where we don't really have that anymore. We have the internet. We frequently don't know our neighbors, but there's sort of a sense of unity and connection.
Yes. There's a sense of community, a sense of connectedness to the entire world. I mean, we talk about globalization. This is globalization at its best.
And people blog about it, they sort of talk to each other through blogs, and where one might speak a slightly different, a different language, these comments get translated and get posted around the world, and people start to feel sort of connected to each other.
Yes. And again, I mean, there's so much human drama going on. There's 33 miners down there. They all have families. They all have certain things to hide, certain things to be proud of. For example, we heard about the miner who had a mistress and a wife, and the wife boycotted his rescue. The mistress was there to greet him.
Leave him there.
This man's going to be in a lot of hot water for some time to come.
Right.
But that's just one example. So I guess what happens here is that the miners go down into the mine with all their human frailties and foibles and mistakes, just as we all have. And then the whole eyes of the world are focused on them. They're under a magnifying glass. And they're finally getting a taste of what celebrity must be like.
Yeah.
And then, the whole world is dissecting every little bit of thing that goes on. And now that they have come out, we find out that they were actually considering cannibalism briefly, even though they just joked about it. But I don't think it was really a joke because for 17 days, they did not know if anyone would find them. And there's these 33 men, and, there's enough oxygen for them to survive and so on. But they knew that unless some miracle happens, they're all going to die. So there must have been just all kinds of things going on during those first 17 days. And it's amazing how well there was, leaders emerged, and they were able to assign tasks. They were able to provide structure within that framework of being trapped. And it is really their shift supervisor who emerged as the ultimate hero here, who was able to corral these people and breathe some life back into them, some hope, and say, you cannot give up no matter what. You need to do certain things. And amazingly, it was the younger miners, the ones who were physically more able and better able to fend for themselves, were the ones who gave up the most easily in the beginning.
Well, now that they're back up top, and the media is truly focused on them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's even a TV reality show about mm-hmm. mining and going underground mm-hmm. and being trapped and all that ostensibly was thought of right. a year ago. Mm-hmm. But now that they're back up, as you've said, the world is starting to see little pieces of their lives they would never have anticipated would be exposed.
Yes.
Pieces of life that most of us think are private. Well, at least some of us think are private. And they will have, it's going to be such a paradigm shift for them that they may start to feel sort of betrayed by this media that focus so much on them.
Yes,
and what should they be? Yeah, what should they be prepared for in terms of media? The media that sort of beat the drum and kept all of this attention on them, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword.
Well, Marta, since you have spent a lifetime interviewing people, I think you have a better idea of what the media, what the effect of scrutiny by the media has, what type of an effect scrutiny by the media has on people. So perhaps you could address that.
Well, just that the media gives and the media takes away.
Yes.
But I guess that what I would say is how would you say as a psychiatrist someone can emotionally handle this intrusion into their lives?
Well, for one thing, I understand that these people had a great deal of psychological support before they came out. Mm-hmm. They had NASA psychologists who worked with the astronauts, the Apollo team, and so on. And by the way, there were some significant problems with Apollo 7 and also, as we know, Apollo 13.
Right.
A movie was made out about that. Also, the people who have manned the space station for as much as 50 to 70 days, where they're in complete isolation, essentially, and where there's no way out. And, things could go wrong with the rescue operation or rescue capsule or the various ways that we can get them down. So, I mean, there have been some tense moments during that time. So these NASA psychologists helped prepare the men what it would be like to come through, and also they gave them media training. They were given booklets about how to handle the media and so forth. But again, nothing will completely prepare them for that.
So when they deal with the media, then the idea is to know where your boundaries are and where you say, this is where I'm closing my front door, and they don't, you have to know when you are no longer obligated to talk to them, when you can say, thank you, but this is my family starts here and my interview ends here.
Exactly, and that was part of the training that they were given.
Your limits are.
Sure, they were told that they don't have to answer every question.
Yeah.
Because the media will be intrusive, and they will ask them anything that they can get them to answer. And of course, they'll be looking for the sensational things like, the mention of cannibalism,
right.
and the fact that there were fistfights and, all kinds of, attempts at mutiny in the beginning and so on.
The things that will get the most attention.
Exactly.
Well, I think there's a lot more to talk about with this entire situation of the rescue of the miners. But we have exhausted our time for now, and we'll talk more about it in an upcoming episode. So until next time, I'm Marta Waller.
And I'm Dr. Joe Haraszti.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.